Hi, I'm Christian Brindle, and welcome to the Everything Medicare Podcast. What's up, Everything Medicare Podcast Nation? This is Christian Brindle. I'm here today with somebody that I'm really excited to do a podcast with. I've been wanting to do a podcast with somebody for some time now that actually is a part of one of the large insurance company partners that we have here at our office. This is episode 239 of the Everything Medicare Podcast. My name is Christian Brindle. I'm your host, and I'm joined today with Spencer Anderson of Cigna. Spencer, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here, Christian. I'm excited to be here. I have watched a bunch of your podcasts, watched a bunch of your YouTube videos, and if I remember right, even before I officially took the job with Cigna, I had reached out to you and said, "Hey, I've got a couple of ideas for podcasts. I would love to come on and chat with you." I've been in the Medicare industry for what feels like forever now, so yeah. I'm excited to be here, excited to chat with you. Hopefully I don't embarrass Cigna or say anything that'll get me fired. I don't think I will. We should be good, but just happy to be here. Happy to kind of talk about whatever you want to do. Let's go. Let's talk.
I'm all about it. I won't ask any crazy questions like what are the top 5 things you dislike about Cigna. I won't ask anything like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because, and I wanted to get your take on this. One thing I've been able to have industry leaders, come on this podcast and kind of talk about, the inner workings of Medicare. So that way people that are at home that listen to this, because this audience for this podcast we get about 1,000 downloads a week at this point. 90% or so, roughly around there, maybe 89-90% of the audience is over 60, which is insane to me because when we first started it, I didn't think any seniors would listen to podcasts. But the one type of person I've had a hard time being able to come on, I think it's because they're just afraid that their company might not love the idea of it. Has been people that have worked for insurance companies. You've been around the industry quite a bit.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I think the Medicare industry in general is very highly regulated. There are a lot of rules. There's certain words you can't say, superlatives you can't use, and you've seen it when you're doing a sales presentation. You can't say, we're the biggest or we're the best. Those are things that companies cannot say. And so I think there are a lot of people that maybe if they're not as comfortable speaking or talking into a microphone, they feel like, gosh, I might get on and say something dumb, or I might say something where CMS might say, oh, that guy said this. We're gonna go talk to him and slap him on the wrist. But that would be my guess. And then a lot of it too is maybe them not seeing the value. They're like, what do I really want to go? What is the podcast? Who's the audience? Who's going to get a hold of this? What are they going to do with it? And I've done other types of media. And actually, it's when I was in college, I almost got to the very end of my broadcast journalism career.
Oh wow!
I did an internship with back in the day, it used to be called Sports Beat on KSL.
Yeah.
The local NBC channel here in Salt Lake, and I got all the way to I went and did my internship. And I got to the end of that internship and I thought, this is horrible. I do not want to do this. I don't want to go live in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to go make $14,000 a year doing weekend sports in Grand Junction, Colorado. Yeah. And I still remember the day I came home I had been at Sports Beat that Sunday night. It was the day of the Super Bowl. This was in 2002. And I was graduating that year and I came home from my internship and my wife's like, well, you're home early. I'm like, yeah. I told them I'm done. I'm not doing it. She's like, okay. So that next Monday I went back in and switched my major and did my degree in sales and marketing, and kind of haven't looked back since. But I did a lot of, up at Weber State, we did a lot of on-camera work. We did a lot of interviews. We did a lot of editing. And so it doesn't, the camera and the microphone doesn't freak me out, which it might with some people.
Which that's good. I think that's a lot of it too. I think some people just have a phobia of cameras.
Yes.
Like I've met people that can get on a stage in front of 500 people and talk publicly, no problem. But for some reason, a camera wigs them out.
I totally see that.
It's a weird dynamic. Well, if Do me a favor, give us a little bit of a backstory on your backstory, if you will. Like,
absolutely.
How did you get into the Medicare business? How did you get into the industry? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time I got into the Medicare and the insurance industry, we lived in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
And I had been working at a Sears in a management program. They had recruited me out of college, moved us down to Mesa, Arizona. We did that for about 6 months, and then it really turned into the exact opposite of what they had promised me it was going to be. And it was funny because we started doing it. It was same thing, a lot of nights, a lot of weekends. You think about retail, what it used to be before Amazon got here. Every holiday was a big sale. Every weekend, that was the busiest time in the stores. And I just thought, you know what? I've got kids. We just had our second boy, and I thought, I've got to find something different. And a gentleman that we were acquainted with down in Arizona said, hey, you know what? I work for American Family Insurance. You should come talk to my manager. I know they're recruiting. They pay to put you through training. They really do a lot to help you get up and going. So I went and did that. It was cool. I got all my insurance licenses, the life, the health, the property, casualty, got into it. And then I had a second gentleman come to me and say, hey, you're doing that. That's cool. But have you ever thought about being an independent? I thought, well, tell me a little bit more. And he's like, you've got every company. Nobody ever beats you when they've got better rates. So went and did that for a while, and then that was right as we were going into 2008, 2009. You started seeing everything kind of tank in the economy,
right? And
so we got up to our eyeballs, just leveraged the hilt in debt, opening up this business. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? And then I had another buddy come to me, and he's still in the industry. He's one of the bigger agencies out here in the West, and he came to me and he kept pitching me saying, hey, you should come do Medicare. You're bilingual. You speak English, Spanish. You would kill it. You should come do Medicare. And he started explaining to me how everything works. And I just thought, this sounds like a weird multi-level marketing scheme. I don't really know what this is. Is this legitimate? And at that time, it was still, Medicare Advantage was still fairly new.
Right.
And I thought, no. And he's like, just come do it. I said, well, I can do it part-time. I've still got this home and auto agency that I really want to make a go of this and get it to work. He said, that's fine. Just come do it part-time. By the way, you speak Spanish. Here's a bunch of leads. I lived in Mesa. 2.5 hours away from us was Yuma, Arizona. He said, you've got to come. You got to come do this. We'll give you leads. Just go do it. And I remember going out and doing appointments and being in San Luis, Arizona, and sitting in houses that actually backed up to the border. I could have chucked a rock into Mexico from some of those houses in San Luis. And we started doing those appointments, going out, and then I got my first paycheck, and I thought, okay, there might be something to this. And then the company reps kind of got a hold of me and really explained to me that, hey, as our population starts aging into this, the number that's always thrown around is 10,000 people a day in the United States turn 65. And I thought, wow, that's a really cool opportunity. And I always joked with them after I got into it, my favorite thing to do at these appointments was to make people cry, because we would sit down with them, educate them on the process, and by the end, a lot of the time, some of these people we were helping, especially some of our lower income members, they were crying because now they had dental, now they had vision, now they had hearing, things they didn't even know they were eligible for. All they needed was a little bit of education and a kind of a push in the right direction. And so that's really how I got into it. And then my wife and I were both from the Salt Lake area, and so we wanted to move back. We've got, especially on my side of the family, tons of cousins. I come from a family of 7, so big family. And we thought, you know what? We love to ski. We love the mountains. We're going to move back to Utah. And Medicare is everywhere, obviously. So we thought, well, we'll go back there and figure it out. I came back, and first thing I did, I said, okay, I'm going to go find in Arizona. I had written a ton of United Healthcare business. I said, I got to go find out who the manager is in Utah. And so I went out to the United Healthcare building, just knocked on the door and said, hey, who's your Medicare guy here? I need to get in contact with that person. They said, well, we actually don't have somebody right now. What's your background? Do you want to interview for the job? I was like, no, I don't know. I'm not looking for a job. I just need contact information. And they said, well, just come talk to this guy. And I kind of have a thing in life where, especially when it comes to careers and business, I'll talk to anybody about anything at least one time. I'll never just flat say, no, I don't need a job. I'm not going to talk to you. So sat down, talked to them, got hired with them, had a huge first year. We grew a ton, got about 18 months into it. And I thought, you know what? I really think my place where I can go help consumers the most was back on the independent, on the agent side. So went back into that for about 4 years. we were able to really grow a book of business, help a ton of people here in the Utah market. And then last summer, fast forward a couple of years, last summer, I had an acquaintance, and this is the thing that, and you've probably seen this, once you meet people, like, you'll run into the same people forever.
Over and over and over and over, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same people over and over again. And I had a guy that I actually had brought into the Medicare business. His dad was the one that got me in at American Family. I actually went out and did his first appointments with him when he was a brand new agent. He called me and said, hey, Cigna is coming brand new into the Utah market, and I know they're looking for a broker sales manager. You've been in that market forever. You know everybody in the market. There's hundreds and hundreds of agents. You already know all these people. This is a great fit. Would you be interested? And I thought, I don't know. I mean, I've got my thing going. I really enjoy still going out and helping consumers. But I had always kind of wanted to work with a company that was bringing in a brand new plan to a market, help them grow, help them with expansion. And that's where we're at right now, especially with Cigna Insurance. They've been a company that's been back east forever. And now they're coming west with a lot of these. You're seeing a lot of these carriers looking at the population, and I think there's been a population shift in the United States too, where a lot of the older consumers, they're moving out here where it's warm and it's cheaper to buy a house, and just a little bit different quality of life. And so there is a huge shift of companies and Medicare people aging into Medicare. They're coming this direction, and so. Same thing, I sat down with them and we were able to work it out. And the one thing I've noticed is in working with everybody I've worked with, from people below me, just regular, just customer service people, all the way up to the top level Cigna people, everyone I've interacted with has been just top notch, very knowledgeable, super friendly, very customer member oriented, just really looking at it saying, hey, going forward, this is the way this industry is going to go. We've got to innovate. We've got to be able to use technology. I mean, this 5 years ago, if you'd sat down and said, "Hey, we're going to do a Medicare podcast," and people listen to it and look at it and like,
"What?
What's a podcast? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. How do I get that? When is it on? Is it a radio show?" So really being able to do that kind of stuff, that was the stuff that excited me. And then just fast forward today, we went through our first annual election period, and now we're into lock-in and really starting to look towards expansion and really looking and seeing what the plans are going to do for next year. So that's kind of a really long answer to kind of my background, but that's kind of my background. I've been around, this is I think my 12th or 13th year in the Medicare industry. I've done a little bit of individual insurance, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Got it.
Right now I go out and interact with the brokers like yourself and really just help their members.
I love it. And for me, the last, because we've been partnered with Cigna for years in various different capacities, like for Medicare Supplements, things like that, but never quite as intimately as we have been since with the new plan entering the market, because mainly we do most of what we do here in Utah. But one thing that I've noticed specifically, is Cigna has had a pretty large focus at expansion the last couple of years. I know you're probably limited at what you can say, but as much as maybe you can tell, what does the Cigna plan going forward look like?
Yeah, I know they're very, very focused on expansion, and I think, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, they are in other markets with individual and commercial plans, and there are definitely plans to expand. They've looked at it. They want to be in, every Medicare company wants to be in every state, but I think they've, not every Medicare company has the plan or the people to, or even the funds to be able to do that. So there is definitely a ton of expansion going on, and it helps when you've got people above, the higher ups, the people in charge of the checkbook, they want to invest in different markets. They see what some of these other carriers have done in other states, and they look at it and say, you know what, we can do that, but we can do that better. We can do that more cost effective. We can use technology. Technology is a big one. I don't think it's any surprise or any secret. I think it was last week, Cigna either partnered up or purchased one of the biggest telehealth companies in the country.
Oh wow, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so and these are all things that they're out there in the news, but they look at it, and that's really, especially after going through all this COVID stuff, that people love and are getting more and more comfortable with technology. They'll go do a telehealth appointment, or they'll do the mail order. They're, Cigna's partnered up with Express Scripts. They do the mail order pharmacy. That's, I think, as our Medicare population, as these people start aging in and as technology starts to get used more and more, I really think that's one of the reasons why I think you see Cigna expanding as aggressively as they are, because they do have the technology, they've got the partnerships, they've got things they're doing with the telehealth and the prescriptions to be able to facilitate that and make it an easier transition for people, and really make it so they bring value. And they just really, it comes down to, how do we help beneficiaries maximize their Medicare dollar? And they're really working on that, and really being able to do that with some of the additional benefits they offer as well.
I love it. So Medicare Advantage question for you, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, we can't talk about any plan specific, anything like that, but to keep it pretty generic, people end up hearing this podcast all over the country.
Yeah.
I think it's like 44 states listen every week. And there's different Medicare Advantage plans all over the place.
Absolutely.
Right? The markets are far different from state to state. If you had to pinpoint a couple of keys that you think people should look for when they're picking or selecting a Medicare Advantage plan, what would be those keys?
Absolutely.
For you?
That's a great question. So I have, both of my parents are on Medicare Advantage plans, and it's interesting because they're both with two different companies. So you've got them. It all depends on market. So a lot of the times with Medicare Advantage plans, you want to look at sustainability of the company and the benefits. If you don't have to switch back and forth every year, that's a big deal. For me, if I'm thinking of Medicare plans, I always like to be able to have access to doctors, access to networks, access to benefits, and not even going into anything plan specific. I love PPOs versus HMOs, and multiple carriers have multiple versions of each. I know at Cigna we have PPOs, at Cigna we have HMOs. Me personally, I like PPOs because you do have that ability to go outside of your network. That being said, sometimes the HMOs might have richer benefits. It might have more dental or vision, or a lower out-of-pocket or better prescription drug coverage. So that's the beauty of, I don't think I get in trouble for saying this, but I would never, if it were my parents, I would never ever just say, just call 1-800-Medicare. Go call them, they'll take care of you.
Yeah.
That's someone in a call center somewhere that you'll never talk to again.
Thank you.
Please use an agent, an independent agent. Whether they put you with a Cigna plan or a United plan or an Aetna plan or Humana, whoever it is in your area, absolutely use an independent agent. And that's me. I mean, I'm obviously on the corporate side right now, but my background was I was an independent agent.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't realize, and maybe the word's getting out there more, it does not cost you anything extra to use someone like Christian for your Medicare plan or an independent agent in your neighborhood. It's the same plans. They get paid by the company. It's nothing out of your pocket. And all the companies have rules. They all have to pay the exact same amount for an agent to go out and help you. So you're not going to have an agent showing up saying, you really should go with this plan because it puts more in my pocket. It doesn't work that way. It's It's level across the playing field. You're going to have the cell phone number of said agent to, hey, I've got a question. This copay seems weird, or what are your thoughts on this plan? Or I heard there's a new plan coming out this year, or I keep seeing this stupid commercial on TV where an ex-NFL quarterback keeps promising me all these benefits, but then if you read the fine print underneath, by the way, fine print underneath, if you don't have Medicare and Medicaid and live in this specific state, this does not apply to you at all. So the local independent insurance agent is awesome. I love that. That was my background. I love being able to have that relationship. That for me, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter. Some plans are great fits for some people. Some plans are not great fits for some people. That's the job of the independent agent and your broker to be able to go do that for you. So it's an awesome way to be able to cement that relationship and to be able to have that person to talk to. I mean, we're starting to see now too where we've got call centers now where you've got agents working in call centers. If that works for you, that's cool too. You just want to make sure that you're able to connect and talk to that same person and get your questions answered. They know your history, they've got that relationship, they've helped you pick plans, they're aware of your networks, your doctors, your prescriptions. Those are the things I would look at in talking just general Medicare. I think those are some of the most important things.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. And, I tell people on this platform all the time, I mean, even if you're not using us, use an agent, like an independent agent, somebody that's going to essentially be available for you on the long term to take care of your plan and keep you posted on changes and just, I mean, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy not to.
Yeah,
personally.
Absolutely. And it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just that extra level of education and comfort that you're getting from knowing, hey, every October, my agent is going to reach out to me. They're going to say, here are the new plans for the year, or the plan you're on is probably still a really good fit for you. What questions you have, what's changed, there you go. It's done. You're not getting sucked into, and as Medicare beneficiaries, or for you people that haven't aged into Medicare yet, it's getting more and more just piles of mail and junk sent out to you. And being able to go through that, and 6 months before you turn 65, you're just going to get a mountain of mail from everybody that has anything to do with Medicare.
Yeah.
Being able to know, hey, I've got, my so-and-so was already 65 and they referred me to this person to help with my Medicare. Very easy process. That's absolutely so invaluable to have.
100%. Like I always tell people, you're going to get 10 mailers from every insurance company you've heard of.
Yes.
And then you're going to get 10 to 15 mailers from every insurance company you've never heard of.
Absolutely.
And it's just,
absolutely.
It's insane. It's like multiple phone books worth of documentation. And, an independent agent can just translate that, just you don't have to spend 25 hours going through all this mail and trying to decipher it, which for the most part is just advertisements anyway.
Yeah. And have you on this podcast, have you dived into why it's only mail that they're getting?
Yeah. We've talked about it.
It's going to be, that's really, unless you have a prior business relationship, that is the only way they can get a hold of you. And if you've got people direct dialing you, that's a whole other...
Yeah, that's another can of worms right there.
That's a whole other podcast maybe on just CMS regulations and marketing and what brokers and agents and companies can and can't do, because that is why you get all the mail, because that is probably for most people about the only way these companies can advertise or get with you.
Right, for sure. As someone that's been on both sides of the fence, right? You've been on the independent broker side, you're now on the corporate side with Cigna. Where do you see Medicare Advantage itself going in the next 5 years? Because me personally, I see it from what I hear from people in the industry, I see it continuing to expand and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at the numbers, and I probably should have been better prepared and brought those in with me, Medicare Advantage is just exploding. I think the benefits are getting better, the networks are getting better, people are more and more comfortable with the idea of being on a Medicare Advantage plan. It's nice to have your prescription drug coverage built into it, so you're not having to shop for multiple companies, and you're not going to look for a supplement and then going to look for a Part D prescription drug plan. It's all just built into that plan. And so from what I've seen over the 12 years, my 12 years in Medicare, there has been a huge expansion of Medicare Advantage plans, and I think the growth of membership going from original Medicare into Medicare Advantage plans is just growing exponentially, and I think you're going to continue to see that. That being said, Medicare Supplements for some people are still an awesome option as well.
Right.
That's
for sure.
where it's nice to be able to have the independent agent to sit down and do a needs analysis with you and say, maybe a supplement is a good idea for you, or maybe financially, supplement's not a great idea for you. It's so different for every individual that's why it's so important to be able to sit down before you do make that decision and really have someone go through all the nuts and bolts of Medicare and the ABCDs of Medicare, and I've got this, or I've got this pre-existing condition that would maybe preclude me from getting a supplement in the future. So all the different things and questions that are really important to get an answer to, those are all reasons why, once again, I would go back to sit down with an agent.
Yeah.
Sit down with an agent, find out. But to answer your question, I think the Medicare Advantage is just, it's exploding. You're starting to see more and more companies, more and more plans offered, because they do see, hey, there's a huge benefit to Medicare beneficiaries being able to have these plans. And then I think from the financial side too, I think, and I'd be curious to see the exact numbers. In general, I think the private companies administer the benefits and are financially, I think they do it better than original Medicare does as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. I was talking to someone the other day. Actually, it wasn't the other day. I think it was a couple of months ago. Do you know? Are you familiar with like Medicare Bob? You heard that name before? So he owns a big call center down in Florida, and he explained it to me in a way that I've never heard anyone explain it, and I thought it was really interesting. He said, and of course the numbers are subjective, right? So it's not exact numbers or anything like that. But he's like, let's say it costs Medicare $1,500 a month on average to cover somebody.
Yeah.
And let's say an insurance company can come in and say, well, we can do it for almost half. We can do it for $800 a month. So if you pay us $1,000 to $1,100 a month or whatever that might be, depending on the situation, you know, you save yourself an average of $500 a month, roughly, per individual. We're able to profit, and we can give them more than you can. Like it just, and he just kind of broke that down in such a way, and I was like, it just made it very simple, you know, to where everybody wins.
Yeah, and I have heard that before too, kind of those numbers, and then it's obviously it's different from state to state,
right,
county to county, and you know, you start to get star ratings pulled into that, which are awesome because really all of the star ratings. And if you don't know your star rating, go open up that book, whatever book you got, whatever Medicare plan you're on, or go to Medicare.gov, go look it up, because that's important stuff too.
Right.
Because then you know, as I'm picking a company, or as I'm helping my mom or dad or grandma or grandpa pick a company, you want to be able to look at that and say, hey, that company's 3.5 or 4 or 5 stars, or that company is 2.5 stars or 2 stars. Maybe they're not going to be around for very long, because Medicare has really cracked down on, if we're going to partner up with you, you're going to deliver a certain level of service and a certain level of benefits to make sure people are taken care of, so that they're not locked into a plan that doesn't do anything for them during the year.
For sure.
That's one of the things too that I have seen a huge focus. The whole industry has shifted from not having star ratings, still doing pretty good, to, hey, we're being held accountable now by Medicare, and if we can get these higher star ratings, we do get reimbursed a little more, which helps us to have better benefits for our members, which helps us to be able to get more membership. So it's just kind of a cyclical thing.
Right. It makes perfect sense. I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
What is the best way that somebody could, if they wanted to find out more information about a Cigna plan, if it's available in their state, what's the best way that they can get information on that?
Cigna.com is a great place to get that information, or you can even go to Medicare.gov. I know sometimes we beat up Medicare for being, and the government kind of being DMV-ish and not super efficient, but the Medicare Plan Finder tool on Medicare.gov is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
You can go in and put in your prescriptions, you can put in your zip code, it'll pull everything up, you'll be able to see those star ratings we talked about, you'll be able to see kind of the footprint of where the plan is, which plans are there, prescription drug benefits, co-pays for the different plans, and you really can do a pretty sweet comparison. And when I was an independent agent, I used that all the time. I'd sit down in people's homes with them, and we would just go to Medicare.gov and type all that information in and say, hey, here's everything in your area, here's all the benefits, here's the plans, you know, here's which carriers are here, which one works best for you. So anything online, anything on Medicare.gov, if you've got an agent you work with, call them. They'll be aware of it. They'll know. Awesome.
Well, thank you for doing this. This was fun. This was a blast.
Was
and
good.
Guys, check out Cigna plans in your area. You know, because I can say in a lot of markets that we've been working in the last year or so, we found them to be, in a lot of situations, if it's a good fit for somebody, a really great option. So,
absolutely.
Thank you, Spencer, for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me be here. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Everything Medicare Podcast. Have a good week. Stay healthy. Take care. We'll see you next time.